Hello guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Lucia and this is Lumi.
I'm no good at being good, but I never said I was. And I feel misunderstood, cause I'm trying hard to love.
In today's video, I really want to talk to you guys about some dupes for some rare houseplants that everyone is looking for right now. A lot of these plants can get pretty expensive, so I did want to show you guys some more inexpensive alternatives if you like the look of that plant. I'm also only going to be going into a few different dupes because there are so many. A lot of plants do look very similar, but in this video, I want to show you guys some plants that I do have. I'm also going to compare them to some that I don't. So you're either going to be seeing the plant in person or I will show you guys a picture on the screen. Before we do get into that though, guys, if you are not already subscribed, definitely click that button down below. And also if you enjoy the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you do want to be entered into the $20 Amazon gift card giveaway, don't forget to leave a comment as well, as that will get you entered. But that is going to be all before we get into today's video. I really hope you guys do enjoy it. I am going to start off with a plant that is pretty sought after right now. It's not super uncommon, but they can be a little bit pricey. I am talking about the Scindapsus silver lady. This is a really beautiful Scindapsus and it's just covered with this silver splashing. The leaf shape is also pretty unique and it is really, really beautiful. It's also a super fast grower, which is really nice. But again, they are a little bit difficult to get your hands on. So I did want to show you guys an alternative to this beauty right here. Obviously, these plants aren't going to be identical, but if you're not into the plant for the brand name, if you know what I mean, these are great options for alternatives. So what I have here is the Syngonium Pictus exotica. This is a great alternative for the Scindapsus silver lady. It has a very similar leaf shape and it also has very similar splashing. One of the only differences with this plant is it has a slightly darker, more bluey hue to it, and the leaves get a lot larger over time. But they do look very similar. I will try to do a little side by side of the leaves close up for you so you can see. But both of these plants tend to be faster growers when given optimal conditions. Obviously, this guy is a little bit thirsty. I find this plant really, really likes water, so it needs to be watered at least once a week. And while once a week isn't really uncommon for some smaller pot sizes, I usually don't have to water my plants in larger pots more than once every 2 weeks. So this is an exception for that. But it is a gorgeous plant and again, a really great opportunity to get a plant that looks super cool for a little bit less than the Scindapsus silver lady. This guy here probably would cost you around $60, $50 to $60. And this one here is also gonna cost you around $50 to $60. So you can see the size difference, and in my opinion, the leaves are not very different. So it's definitely a great option for someone who's not super attached to the names of the plants. The next plant that I see a lot of people looking for these days is the Syngonium batik. Mine is a little bit small right now because I did lose some leaves due to some underwatering on my part. I am finally figuring out the watering schedule of these Syngoniums, and they do need a little bit more water, especially in the summer months when it's really hot. But I have found a great alternative for this plant. You might already know because a lot of people do confuse these two plants for each other. But if you want the Syngonium batik and you don't have the money to spend on it, you can definitely go for the Syngonium white butterfly. I personally do not have the Syngonium white butterfly, but I will put the picture on the screen here for you so you can see. They are very, very similar in shape and size, and the veining is pretty similar as well. The only thing that you get in the batik that you will not get in the white butterfly is the prominent veining. The veining is there for sure, but it's not going to be as prominent as the Syngonium batik. This does vary plant to plant. You can find some that do look more like a batik, but you're not going to get the exact same effect. The best part about this plant though is the fact that it is so inexpensive. This is the most common Syngonium, at least in my area. So if you really, really like the look of it, it's going to be super available and it's going to be super inexpensive as well. So don't worry about spending your money on the boutique if you're not super obsessed with names. The Syngonium white butterfly is an amazing option and it's just as beautiful. Next up here is another plant that seems to be super popular these days. This here is the Hoya serpens. This guy is a really, really cute Hoya with little fingernail sized leaves, and they are just so cute. They have some fuzz on them as well, but this is a really popular Hoya that is really difficult to find at the moment. And while they're not crazy expensive, they definitely do run a little bit higher for what you're getting. Obviously, this is a really small plant, so while you aren't spending a ton for it, you're also not getting a lot out of it. But if you like the circular look of these leaves and you really want something that looks similar, I definitely recommend the Hoya Matilde. This is a cross between the serpens and a Hoya carnosa. So you are gonna get some bigger leaves on this one, but you also get a lot of the same characteristics that you will find in the Hoya serpens. You get those beautiful, more round shaped leaves. You also get a little bit of that fuzz, but you also get some cool splashing on the leaves that isn't super duper common on the serpens. You can definitely get some splashing on serpens, but it's a lot more likely that your Matilde will be splashy. I also find because they are crossed with the Carnosa, which is a really fast grower, that these guys grow a lot faster than the serpens, which for me is really important. So yeah, I actually think I like the Matilde more than the serpens, even though the serpens are a little bit more sought after. Definitely, if you are looking for a plant like the serpens, the Matilde is your best bet, as it is literally a direct relative of that plant. Mine has grown so much in the last little bit and I just love it. I have 2 Hoya Matildes and I wouldn't have it any other way. I would probably have 6 if I could, but you know, I just don't have the room for 6 Matildes in my house. Next up, I want to talk about a plant that I just got recently. This here is the Peperomia Pink Lady. This is a really, really beautiful Peperomia, and it's one that you don't find super, super often. It's not crazy expensive when you do find it, but they aren't readily available just anywhere. I haven't had too much time to spend taking care of this plant, so I don't know how easy it is, but if it's similar to most peperomias like this, as long as you don't overwater it, it should be just fine. Because they are a little bit more difficult to find though, I wanted to give you guys a great option for a dupe for this plant as well, because I don't want you guys to miss out if you can't get your hands on one of these. The best dupe for the Peperomia Pink Lady is definitely just going to be your variegated Peperomia Ripple. As you can see in this photo, they look very, very similar. One of the only differences is that the Peperomia Pink Ladies come in with these pink leaves. As you can see on the Pink Lady here, these leaves even fade down to very similar to those variegated Peperomia ripples over time. So it is really only a temporary thing that you're getting that pink color. I have seen variegated Peperomia ripples in stores for very inexpensive. I know we had them at Secret Garden and I think they were less than $10. So if you love the look, definitely go for the variegated Peperomia ripple. They're a dime a dozen, so even if you kill it, it's not the end of the world. You will be able to find another one eventually. So if you do want to get one of these, but you can't find the Peperomia Pink Lady, check out the variegated Peperomia Ripple. You will not regret it. They look so, so similar. Next up on this list is a plant that I know a lot of people are always looking for. This here is the Philodendron Billietiae. I just have a small guy. It really hasn't got too much bigger over the years. It did have a lot more leaves, but I did do a trade a while back and make a little cutting of this guy. The great thing though is that these guys are easily dupeable. There are so many plants that look similar to the Billietiae, and one of the most popular ones is going to be the Philodendron burl marks. While the leaves aren't completely identical, they do look very similar in their juvenile stage. The Philodendron burl marx has a similar growing pattern when it starts off, but they do eventually become very, very bushy, and the Philodendron Billietiae usually gets a little bit taller. So over time, they are going to look a little bit different, but as juveniles, the Philodendron burl marx looks so similar. You get that slight elongated leaf, and it's also a very similar green color. You also have the nice veining down the center that's a little bit more prominent. This plant is a really great dupe for the Billietiae, and it's about a quarter of the price. So if you want something that looks very similar to the Philodendron Billietiae, definitely check out the burl marx. It is really, really easy to take care of and easily accessible at most garden centers. Check that one out for sure. The last plant that I think we're going to talk about in this video for rare plant dupes is the Hoya linearis. This is such a cool Hoya, and they grow super quickly. If you can see there, it is just taking off with new little shoots. I got these two as 1-node cuttings, and again, they're growing so quickly. This plant is so sought after right now, and it has been for the last 2 years at least. So it does make it a little bit less accessible, and they also are a pretty penny when you can find them. One of the best options for a dupe for the Hoya linearis is one that is actually very closely related to this plant, and it is the Serpens linearis. This plant looks very similar, and I see people getting it confused with the Hoya linearis all the time. So if you do want a Hoya linearis but you don't have the budget for one, the Serpens linearis is becoming so much more popular. I can only speak for Canada, obviously. I don't know what the supply is like in the States, but these are popping up in just about everywhere right now. So if you want one, you can probably get your hands on one for a really, really great price. It's also fun that they have a very similar name. If you guys don't already know, the Serpens genus is a relative of the Hoya genus. So yeah, they do have very similar care requirements. I think the Serpens linearis needs a little bit more water because the leaves are a little bit less succulent than the Hoya linearis. But other than that, they are great complements to each other, and if you can't find the Hoya linearis, you can get the Serpens linearis, but they are also a little bit different, so if you really like the look of them and you can find both, that's also an option. All right, guys, well, that is going to be it for this video. I really hope I helped you guys find some dupes for some plants you might have been looking for. If you didn't already know about any of these plants, let me know down below which one was most exciting to learn about. But yeah, don't forget to enter this week's giveaway by subscribing down below, giving this video a thumbs up, and commenting. But that's going to be all from me. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys next time.